Hello everyone, and welcome to A Teacher Explains.
I'm a teacher, and in this video, I'm going to explain the major theories on how media affects society at a macro level. Have you ever really stopped to think about how the news you watch or the feed you scroll through is shaping not just your opinion, but society itself? Well, today, we're diving into some powerful theories that show exactly how media helps construct our reality. Right, let's get this core idea on the table first. Media aren't just mirrors that reflect the world back at us. It's way more active than that. Think of them more like architects, actually building our social world. They don't just deliver the facts. They have a hand in shaping our culture, our institutions, and even the rhythm of our daily lives. Our whole understanding of media's power has evolved so much over time. If you go back a century, the big fear was propaganda, this idea of a single powerful message that could just brainwash the masses. But today, our concerns are so much more complex. We worry about information overload, our dependency on devices. The real shift has been from seeing media as this kind of sledgehammer with an immediate, obvious impact, to seeing it as the very air we breathe, a complex system that subtly shapes us, even when we think we're the ones in control. Okay, so how does this actually play out? Let's start with one of the most fundamental ways media influences all of us, by shaping what we prioritize. We're going to look at a group of theories that get at a really crucial idea, that media doesn't so much tell us what to think, but it's incredibly good at telling us what to think about. This quote from Bernard Cohen absolutely nails the core of what's called agenda-setting theory. The idea isn't that the media forces an opinion down our throats. No, its real power lies in deciding which topics get the spotlight in the first place. By covering an issue relentlessly, the media makes that issue feel important, and in doing so, it literally sets the public's agenda. And this isn't just a theory. It's backed by some classic research. Back in 1972, a landmark study during an election found this incredibly strong link between what the media was covering and what voters said were the most important issues. Then, about 15 years later, researchers took it a step further. They proved it wasn't just a correlation. Through some clever experiments, they showed that by focusing our attention, the media could also change the very standards we use to judge our leaders. And that effect? That's called priming. This chart really helps us untangle these three key ideas because they are different. So agenda setting is all about making an issue seem important. Priming is about setting the criteria we use to judge things connected to that issue. And then there's framing, which is all about interpretation. That example on the slide is just perfect. The exact same situation can be understood in completely opposite ways, all depending on the words the media chooses to use. So this begs the question, right? If the media sets the public agenda, who sets the media's agenda? That leads us to something called news production research, which kind of pulls back the curtain. It argues that news isn't some perfect mirror of what's happening. It's a product, one that's built under tight deadlines, institutional pressures, and the daily, ingrained routines of journalists. And these routines, well, they create predictable patterns, or biases, in the news we get. The researcher W. Lance Bennett identified 4 big ones. There's personalization, where the focus is on a single person's story instead of the massive social issue behind it. Dramatization, which always favors conflict over complex analysis. Fragmentation, which gives us these little isolated bits of a story without any context. And finally, normalization, which tends to filter stories through the perspectives of people who are already in power. Setting the daily agenda is one thing, but what about the long game? The next set of theories we're going to look at explore the deeper, cumulative power of media, how years and years of exposure can actually shape our most fundamental beliefs about the world and our very perception of reality. Let me ask you this. Have you ever wondered why certain viewpoints just seem to be everywhere, completely dominating the conversation, while other views that people hold just seem to fade into the background and disappear? Well, the spiral of silence theory offers a pretty compelling answer. It all starts with a very basic, very human fear, being socially isolated. To avoid that, we're constantly scanning our environment, often through media, to figure out which opinions are popular and which aren't. And if we sense our view is in the minority, we tend to just keep quiet. This self-censorship makes the majority opinion seem even stronger than it is, which, in turn, encourages more people to stay silent. And that's the spiral. Another really powerful long-term theory is cultivation theory. This one suggests that media, and television was the classic example, acts as our society's main storyteller. Over time, that constant, cumulative drip of stories and images cultivates a shared worldview, creating a common set of beliefs across a huge, diverse population. And one of the most famous findings from this line of research is something called the mean world syndrome. The logic here is actually pretty simple. Television is filled with way more violence and danger than the real world. So as a result, people who are heavy viewers tend to absorb that worldview. They're more likely to believe the world is a much scarier, more dangerous place than it actually is. Now, this cultivation process tends to work in two key ways. First, there's mainstreaming. This is where heavy viewing can kind of blur the lines between different social groups, pulling everyone toward a common media-shaped center. But then there's resonance. This happens when media messages really hit close to home. If what you see on TV lines up with your own life experiences, the effect of that message gets amplified. It feels even more real. And finally, media's influence can even play a role in social inequality. The knowledge gap theory points out that when new information hits our society, people with more education and resources tend to absorb it much faster. And what's the unintended consequence? Well, the knowledge gap between different socioeconomic groups can actually get wider, not smaller. This is a huge idea behind our modern concerns about the digital divide. Okay, so understanding these incredibly powerful theories isn't just some academic exercise. It's not about being cynical. It's the foundation for developing a crucial skill for navigating our world today: media literacy. So what exactly is media literacy? Well, simply put, it's the ability to not just consume media, but to access it, to analyze it, evaluate it, and even to create it yourself. It's the skill that turns us from being passive consumers into active, critical participants. It's an absolutely essential tool for being a citizen in the 21st century. And why does this matter so much? Because these skills are truly our best defense. They empower us to spot bias, to check the credibility of what we're seeing, and to understand those hidden forces that are shaping the content we consume every single day. In short, media literacy equips us to resist manipulation and to be more thoughtful and effective citizens. So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. Now that you understand these powerful forces at play, that the media you consume is actively setting agendas and shaping your sense of reality, how will you look at your screen differently tomorrow? This explainer was based on research from Mass Communication Theory, Foundations, Ferment, and Future by Baran and Davis, and Media, Society, Industries, Images, and Audiences by Croteau and Hoynes.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel.